was our first session of the online to offline world. Now we're going to be moving through to 3 more unicorns. Can you believe it? This is around the idea of moving not just food to people, but in fact all kinds of goods, and services. So I'd like you to welcome to the stage now the co-founder and CEO of Snapdeal, Kunal Bahl, the CEO of Noon, Faraz Khalid, and the CEO of Bukalapak, Achmad Zaky. Hello, how are you? Come and have a seat. So I'm going to start the same way, but we're going to mix it up because instead of going this way, we'll start in the middle, go that, and then come back. Just to keep you all on your toes. I want to hear, first of all, what the mission of your company is, and give me an idea of the size of the market.
Sure. So we're Noon. Noon is an e-commerce platform right now, but our aspiration, because it's somewhat elevated, is to be the digital flag bearer for the Arab world. We believe that we can build an ecosystem that can both serve and inspire. We're living in an extraordinary time, especially in this part of the world, where we have a young population that is extremely well connected. They are consuming digital media at a rate that is perhaps higher than most other parts of the world. We believe that there's an opportunity to convert these digital users into online shoppers, into consumers of digital services of all forms. But in our part of the world, you can't just sort of be a pure online company. You need to build a lot of infrastructure to actually enable this change. So we're building an ecosystem of capabilities first that allows us to really become the storefront.
What kind of capabilities?
Infrastructure, let's start with that. So,
warehouses?
Yeah, so fulfillment, so warehouses. We're building logistics or delivery fleet that can deliver to customers in a way that is efficient and world-class. Payment systems are extremely broken in our part of the world, so you end up building a lot of payments infrastructure. So a lot of these enabling services that you need to actually build an e-commerce business is where you start. And then we're building multiple storefronts where we speak to our audiences in a voice that they recognize, and we serve them in a way that hopefully that satisfies them, in a way that is in line with global standards. But also there's a big duty that Noon has, given the resources that we've mustered, that we build a company that can inspire that young kid somewhere that it can be done. You can build a company that has the ubiquity of, let's say, a Facebook or Snapchat that they're using, but then you can do it. It was born here in Riyadh, right?
So I love that. So part of the mission is, in fact, to inspire the young
100%.
people who are using them, that they could build a business
100%.
just like that.
Yeah, and inside the company, we say that the mission is to be the home screen of the Arab world and build everything that these consumers will use. And I really think that, we're the first wave of these well-resourced local companies, and Mudassir was here just before me. It really, for a young boy growing up in an engineering school, startups might make sense. You actually now have things to look up to. There are opportunities that you can go work at a startup in Riyadh or in Jeddah or in Dubai. It's great.
Okay. Zaki, what about you? Tell me about the mission of the company and the size of the market that you're serving.
Yeah. I started Bukalapak 10 years ago when I was graduated from computer science, and I went back to my village, and where I was I raised for 20 years, and I saw the fact that so many small business in my village that not growing the revenue, even the revenue same with the higher inflation every year. So I realized with my skill I can build something that maybe can opening their opportunity to sell products not just in the small area of the neighborhood, but also nationwide. And I think that's the mission of Bukalapak since day one. Bukalapak itself means Buka means open, and Lapak means store. So everyone every small business right now have an opportunity with the Bukalapak to sell anywhere, anytime. So it's borderless, and I think that's the mission of Bukalapak. And right now we have been growing more than double every years, and we handling half of Indonesian GDP. So we believe this is still early, and we believe we can handle 5% of Indonesian GDP in the next couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kunal, what about you?
Yeah, so Indian e-commerce is a really, really large and rapidly growing space. It's one which has attracted tremendous amount of global interest over the last few years. Our business, Snapdeal, is one of the leading players where, last month we had about 85 million unique people who came to the platform. And on the other side, we have about 500,000 small and medium-sized businesses. And my father, as well as my co-founder's father, were both small business entrepreneurs. And in India, small businesses don't have it easy. While it's a country of small businesses, they have it the hardest also. Tremendous amount of environmental friction, the ability to access consumers, ability to manage logistics, everything is quite challenging. And we set out with a mission to create these life-changing experiences for these small businesses, where they could sell locally, but source locally, but sell nationally. And over the years, we've seen that earlier there used to be traders who used to be selling on the platform, and now we see many people have started setting up manufacturing facilities domestically in India so that they can serve the needs of the consumers nationwide. Indian e-commerce is very, very exciting. Most reports would tell you that it's about a $200 billion market over the next 5 years. It's one of the largest
in India.
In India only.
Okay.
It's one of the largest in the world.
That's big.
It's huge. And one of the tectonic plate shifts that has happened in India over the last 3 years is the big 4G revolution precipitated by Reliance Jio, Airtel, and other telecom companies, which has driven the rates of data to the lowest levels in the world, where you can practically get unlimited data, 4G data, for about $2 a month.
I experienced that when I was in India. Actually, everybody wanted to share their data with me, which was great. I didn't have to buy a package.
Yep, and I think what has happened is we went in 2015 we had 100 million internet users in India. In 2019 we have 500 million internet users. And the new 400 million users are very different from the first 100 million users, mostly centered around small towns and cities. And that's where we come in.
And what you've done is offer something that people haven't had before. So I think you've described it before as it's like magic. You order something and it arrives. You don't want it, and they take it away. Yeah. And tell me a little bit more about why that's so interesting in a small town context.
Yeah, I think there's always been a perennial problem of distribution in India, where people who live in small towns, they have a lot of aspiration. They have some purchasing power also, lower than those who live in the cities, but they do have lots of aspiration and some purchasing power, but they don't have access. And what e-commerce is doing in India now is enabling the distribution of, we have 200 million listings of products on our platform. Suddenly, if you're living in the remotest part of the country, a small town, maybe even a village, now on your phone with the $2 a month data and the $50 smartphone, you can access a store with 200 million products that you didn't even know existed on the planet. And it will be delivered within 3-4 days to your home, usually free of charge, no shipping charges, etc., nominal shipping charges. If you don't like it, you just press a button on the app and someone will come for free, take it from your house and give you a refund or a replacement. That level of service and trust never existed for these consumers in the small towns of India. And that's why India is changing, and I think companies like ours are precipitating that change.
I want to talk about why local context matters and how you build your platforms for a really disparate group of people. Lots of different languages, lots of different cultures, religions. Give me some stories about how that plays out.
Sure, yeah. when we started here, coming from outside, sometimes you think that, oh, it's one language that must unify the place. You realize that even within the kingdom, there are these sort of nuances of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 towns. Tier 3 towns have, tier 1 towns are very well served. There are malls that people can go to, so they're not looking to buy the things that, people in tier 2 towns are looking to buy. They're looking to buy very mass market brands that they don't have access to. I think there are those nuances of how you shape your catalog to serve people in different parts of the country. The aspiration that people have in some of the remote, underserved areas is very different from people living in Riyadh or in Dubai, right? Here we go to malls for entertainment. There is no entertainment. So, there's a role that companies like ours have in enabling. There's also the language, right? It's Arabic, yes, but Arabic in Morocco is very different from Arabic in Riyadh.
And when you make ads, you have to make actually
yes,
different versions of ads, right?
I'll give you an example. So we were just very recently shooting an ad for our Black Friday campaign, which is in a few weeks from now. And as the ad was being shot, they were like, look, this ad will be aired in Cairo, and we can't have someone wearing a kandura for the ad. So we had to actually have 3 different versions of the ad, same script in Arabic, but shot with 3 different sort of cast styles to make it relevant. And I think it's these sort of local nuances that you need to be aware of, and it makes it more exciting, but also gives you, I hope, if you do it well, it can give you some form of long-term sustainable competitive advantage because people like to be spoken to in the way they speak to each other, And so we call ourselves the home team, and it's not just a label, it's in the DNA of our business. We believe that we need to create local opportunity. We work with a lot of, the other little example that I have is that I was, the car that got me from the airport to the hotel and I landed was this guy. The driver was from Sudan. He was a student in a college in Riyadh, but he asked me what I did, and I told him I work at Noon, and he said that, oh, I deliver packages for Noon. So in his downtime, we have this freelancer delivery program where anyone can sign up and deliver for us. And this kid had signed up, and he's making 4 to 6 deliveries a day. That's pocket money, and that's funding some part of his lifestyle. I think you have to embrace that, there are these local
and he feels
aspirations.
Part of Noon, even though he's a freelancer.
100%, yeah, super loyal, amazing, and I feel like in that sense, you have to embrace the local aspirations, both of customers, sellers, and suppliers, to build something that's truly serving the ecosystem in that form.
Okay. Zaki, what about you? Tell me about because Indonesia has a lot of islands, has a lot of languages, one that everyone uses, but tell me about that challenge of being hyper-local.
Yeah, I want to share 2 dimensions. The first one is the cultural locality. And Indonesian culture love to hang out. And I just realized in the 2 years after making Bukalapak live, the sellers of Bukalapak, actually they meet each other. And they're hanging around and they learn each other, and I realized, oh, this is very unique of Indonesian culture. And suddenly at that time we created a sort of community. So right now we have a lot of community of sellers in each city in Indonesia. So this is a very unique approach that we educate them and make them a sort of guru, so they can teach the other sellers. So
they're like
it's
a
kind
mentor for the other sellers.
Yeah, it's kind of big, small business organization in the country right now. And from that, we grew organically, and the sellers keep growing. Right now, we have 5 million of small business all over Indonesia. And that's the first cultural locality that we use. The second is, I think, infrastructure. What I mean with infrastructure is very unique. Developing economies like Indonesia, and maybe it happen in India also, we have no infrastructure in place. For example, like the logistic in Indonesia mostly powered by motorcycle, and this is very unique because When I was in US, I ordered in Amazon. I got the product in 3 days. But in Jakarta, if you order a product in Bukalapak, you can get the product in 2 hours.
Right.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's the power of motorcycle. And the second, I think, the socio-economic locality, which is the GDP per capita is so low that makes people can ship point to point. If you are in the US, you cannot do that because it's so expensive to ship point to point. But in Jakarta, in Indonesia, in small city in Indonesia, you can do that because that's the uniqueness of developing economy. It's like leapfrog. That's, I think, the opportunity for developing economy like Indonesia.
Tell me about the local context, but I also like to hear about the challenges that you've had, because in starting from scratch, you've actually had to build infrastructure, payment systems. What has that meant in terms of growth?
Yeah, I think here, when we started, I think there were maybe 20 million internet users in India, and hence proportionately much less demand on the platform. And we've seen the journey from 20 million internet users to 500 million internet users. So it's been a very, very significant shift. The challenges we face are significantly around, I think one of the great things the government has done is created this payment platform called UPI, which is omnipresent and zero commission payment platform, which has revolutionized payments in India. That said, I think one of the areas of development in India is logistics. We work with multiple third-party logistics companies very extensively. However, given our business is not about delivering digital goods or services, it's about delivering a package. So we can only go as far as the logistics companies take us.
And some of those logistic companies have recently received quite a lot of funding, right? Which is good news for you.
Absolutely. I think it's a trend in the right direction for us because as long as they keep getting funded and keep building capabilities and infrastructure, we can focus on our part of the business, which we understand well, which is building and running a very vibrant marketplace of buyers and sellers. But we work very closely with the logistics partners in India, telling them that, hey, in this zip code, we are seeing increasing demand. So if you open serviceability in this zip code, it may be a very remote part of town, you'll suddenly start seeing 1,000 packages or 1,000 deliveries a day instantly. So I think there is this constant dialogue that we have with them, sharing trend data, which enables them with doing very intelligent network expansion. But I would say beyond logistics, the other thing that I used to often think about is when will we see the 500 million internet users in India? Right. That seems to be a very rapidly solved problem in the country right now. And as a result, a lot of business models that didn't get escape velocity prior to 2016 have now achieved significant escape velocity, like us included.
Okay. So one thing that surprised me when I went on to the platforms was the fact that, in fact, I typed in unicorn in the name of their platforms, and some really surprising things came up. So I got offered unicorn fluffy slippers. And when I went to click to see if I could buy, I had to play a game. Yeah. Now, that was surprising to me because when I'm ordering from Amazon in London, nobody makes me swipe to play a game. But tell me why that is. What is it about teaching people to buy that makes them play a game?
Yeah, our thesis is that the consumer segment that we are going after, which is mid-income, low-income consumers who are very aspirational, they have paucity of money, but they don't have paucity of time. And our job is to engage them. Our job is to make them enjoy themselves while shopping. Shopping for them is not just plug something into search like a diaper and just check out and buy. That's a very Western world experience. Our model of experience is let's entertain them. Let's have them spend a lot of time on the app. Let's make them spin the wheel and find the queen and play all kinds of games. And that tends to be also good business because it drives up conversions, it drives up engagement on the platform.
So Faraz, tell me about the challenges, building infrastructure, payment systems, logistics. How has that meant of a growth constraint, or how has it enabled you to grow quicker?
Look, it's just the scope changes. What you're looking to build is no longer just an e-commerce company or a storefront that you throw packages over the wall and UPS or a global delivery company will deliver it for $2 across the country in 2 days. That unfortunately doesn't happen in this part of the world or in any other emerging market. So you end up, to succeed as an e-commerce company or a digital platform, you need to build supply yourself, you need to build infrastructure yourself. That has meant us going in more than 140 cities in the kingdom, building our own fleet of drivers, engaging with freelancers to deliver for us. You really start seeing yourself as an infrastructure company more than a digital company. And I think when you have that infrastructure, it becomes sort of this, the motives around that sort of physical asset, and then you create utilization on that asset through e-commerce and other services. So we really don't think that we can create any demand. We can't deliver orders to Abha if you don't have a driver in there, and it's that infrastructure that actually enables, and I think it's very core to the DNA of our company. If you ask us, more than 80% of the people that work at Noon work in logistics or fulfillment, and some of our best engineering, some of our best data science work happens in that space. So I think it's quite important as an enabler, and you can't actually have a business without this ducting.
Okay, unfortunately, we've run out of time, and I was about to ask you about sustainability, but I'm going to have to do that afterwards. But can you all please join me in thanking this second panel? Thanks, guys.